Everybody, and welcome back to Scouting the League. It is good to be back here post Christmas. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed a few days off, a great Christmas day, celebrating the birth of our Savior and Lord Jesus Christ, and eating a lot, enjoying a lot of football. But we are back and excited to be back here on Scouting the League. And today we are going to be talking about the pro scouting wind down that kind of is forgotten about as we go from the college football season, really get into all-star games and the draft prep process. But there is plenty going on inside buildings as teams that are done. Yes, there's a bunch of them out there now that know they have been eliminated, have one more week left. Two, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, and that means some end of season processes start to hit the road. We will talk about those today. We are talking bowl games as we get through it. Those are rocking. Never been a more unpredictable season with the transfer portal, coaching changes, everything that has shaken. That is why in our family's current bowl contest, my 3-year-old son is currently leading. He is picking based off which mascot he likes more. So basically that tells you what kind of bowl season it has been. Of course, entertaining for sure, but a lot of close games, plenty of scoring. Hopefully you are enjoying it. This week, excited to check in on a couple of all-star games. College Gridiron Showcase. We'll get Mike Riddleman on the podcast to talk about what that is looking like. And we're going to check in with the Hula Bowl. Todd Worley, yes, it's happening. Yes, he is very confident of it. All the rumors floating. Just trace the dots and figure out where those rumors are coming from. Again, it is a competitive world out there. Some stuff happening behind the scenes that probably doesn't need to, shouldn't be happening, but we're going to check in either way with the Hula Bowl, find out where everything that is at. We're going to talk draft prep as we get through it. We're going to go through the landscape that is college football, head coaches, and the staff that's following them as all the landscape starts to settle. Of course, there's more draft preview, more players, some stack lists starting to come out. But today is all about wrapping up the season on the pro side. Before we jump into that, make sure you head over, like, subscribe, share this podcast wherever you are listening and watching. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or that video portion over on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. Hit the thumbs up button. Most importantly, though, share this with a friend. Start 2026 with the best information about the football behind the scenes that you can get. Scouting, what goes on for agents, what you need to know about the draft process, not just clickbait, not just people getting on and arguing like some of those other shows have, but real behind the scenes scouting information that you can't get anywhere else. I am Rodrik David at RightStepADV on X is where you can find me. My website, rsafootball.com, is where you can find out more about me. Head over, check everything out, get reports on players 2026, 2027, or beyond. Draft prep training, getting guys ready for interviews, ready for all-star games, ready for the draft, ready for the combine, everything in there, all that I'm doing. If there's a spot where you want some help, have questions, hit me up, let me know what you need to find. While you're there, hit up thescoutingcommunity.com if you are a current NFL scout or want to be an NFL scout someday. A scouting community for those two groups, completely anonymous, protect your identity, but give you some information, resources, networking, and answer questions that you can only get there on the scouting community. So if you're a scout or an aspiring scout, head over to thescoutingcommunity.com, get signed up, or hit me up a message to ask more questions and help us move the scouting community forward. And then make sure you check out our partner over at blumaka.com, blumaka.com. Use code scouting20 at checkout for a discount on those insoles that will upgrade the shoes as soon as you put those insoles in them. It's going to improve your training. It's going to incrementally improve that performance, whether it's that non-slip insole, that recovery insole, that turf toe insole. Protect your feet, make those shoes the best version of the shoes you can have by putting an upgraded insole in there. blumaka.com, use code scouting20 at checkout. So teams in the NFL, we got 32 of them, and as we're sitting, we've got 1 week left, 2 weeks left if you're the Rams or the Falcons playing tonight, but we've got two boats of teams. We got those in the playoffs who season will continue to go, and those that only have one game left and will be done. That means there are two different trajectories for the teams still in the NFL. For teams in the playoffs, the end of the season is not quite kicked on. Advances, spreading of resource, trying to hit everyone is where they're at. For teams not going to the playoffs, you can start that end of season process. Let's start for teams going to the playoffs. And, this is perfect for me. This is really where I started my pro scouting journey back in 2016. I had started in February of 2016 as a scouting assistant. By the time late in the 2016 season had come around, we knew we were going to the playoffs in Atlanta. And as a result, we were probably looking at 4 or 5 different teams that we were going to be potentially playing at some point in the playoffs. We were looking at a first round bye, which was fantastic. But that meant that the Giants, the Packers, we also knew potentially of the who was the other team in there? There was another team in there that we knew we were going to potentially be playing in the playoffs. So we had to start spreading our resources, hitting everybody, and getting all the information. So for pro scouting departments, you probably have to grab another person or two as you start to think about hitting maybe 4, 5 different games this last weekend to make sure you get some information on these teams. Again, there's always going to be some common opponents, division opponents. Again, you're talking 3 NFC West teams making the playoffs this year. Again, for those teams, your conference opponents really well. For some teams, though, they have not seen the Panthers all year. You're talking about a 3rd, 4th place team that you may not have seen during the year. You may not have played them, so you've got to get some eyes on that team. Again, for us in Atlanta, we had seen the Giants the year before. We had not seen them during the regular season, so I went to a Green Bay versus Giants game in the playoff. I was really focused in on the Giants, but then the Packers became the team that we had to play. We had played the Packers during the regular season, had seen them fairly recently, had a pretty good track record on them. So again, advances during the playoff time really become a little bit different. A lot of times it's just a check back in. You do get some common new opponents. Again, the Rams were an opponent that we focused in on late in that in the 2017 season, actually, that we had to get ready for. So again, you start to get ready for those advances. You are not at all thinking about anything else other than win, advance in the playoffs. Your roster set, you're hopefully going to get some players off of injured reserve if you have any guys on there that are eligible to come off. But again, you are focused solely on the playoffs. You are really not thinking at all about free agency. You've gotten the reports done you needed during the season for those players to give yourself kind of a jump start. It is all about winning and advancing. On the flip side, you get your teams that have been eliminated. Again, that's half the NFL basically at this point. Your end of season process has started. Advances are done. Everybody's probably presenting those tonight at the latest. Again, a lot of common opponents the last week of the year with the conference game. So it's your second time through. Really just clean up advanced presentations done. What's happened, who's injured, who's going to be playing. Again, you're probably doing some different things with your roster. So advances, we'll say advances are done. You're not doing any more in-season reports. You're probably not working out anybody with thought of putting them on the roster for the last week of the season. Again, any workouts done at this point are futures contracts. Again, maybe some CFL guys if that window is still open, if you're still thinking about those players. But again, you are really starting to work on your end of season reports. What those end of season reports are, again, all 53 plus practice squad, anybody on the injured reserve is going to get that end of season report from at least one pro department person, multiple people in your pro department, more than likely. Coaches will start to hit on that stuff, get their reports in. Again, they want to be done with that so they can enjoy some time, get out of the building, kind of wash their hands of this 2025 season. And you're starting to think about future contract stuff. Again, who is going to be back? Who are free agents? Who's restricted? Who's unrestricted? Who can we tender? Who are we not going to tender? All about thinking, what is our roster going to look like as we start to expand it? Who are the futures players? Again, maybe there are practice squad players. Maybe there's just players on the street. We see less of that than we used to. Again, if you're thinking about CFL players, other alternate league players, you're really starting to think about who can we put on our roster as soon as the season's done to make sure we have tabs on those players. But again, really starting to think about that free agency process that's going to hit. Really, you want to be ready by the time the combine comes around because of meetings that take place there in Indianapolis. But really, to make sure you're ready for March and that real free agency process, having your stack list. Who do we need to send to coaches? Who do we need to evaluate to make sure we have a really good feel for where they're at, and then compare them and stack them with players on our current roster. During this time, you're also going to have cap consideration meetings. Again, who are players who are going to be cap casualties? There's nothing that says this player is going to be a free agent on in terms of their contract, but the money, maybe the performance, maybe the way their contract was structured, they're going to end up on the street. So you start to get together with your cap people, talk about, hey, this is what their roster looks like. This is why we think this player is gone. Hey, it makes sense from this end, from that end, from this perspective. Maybe there's been something that's been told to you by an agent, by a team, through your sources that you make when you're in the building. You can start to get a jump on those players, add players to the list, eliminate players that hey, they're going to extend this player. That player's not going to go anywhere, or maybe players are going to retire, do anything like that. So you start to get everything ready together for that free agency process, which is, of course, going to affect the draft process, all that kind of stuff. Some teams, pro departments do start to dabble a little bit in the college realm. You start to, hey, these are priority positions, do this stack list, do these players that are going to the combine. Hey, maybe we're going to send them down to an all-star game to look at a specific position. Again, that'll happen here and there, but for a lot of pro departments, it is really just thinking about getting as much of that end of season stuff done as we can. That way you can take a breather. We talk on this podcast more about the college scouting that happens from, again, we're going to say August 1 to Thanksgiving. And it is a long grind. There is a lot of stress on getting through the road, getting through all your schools, getting through all the reports that you have. And again, one thing that is forgotten in all that process is the grind that a pro scout goes through. Again, you're talking about a couple weeks earlier, probably middle of July, pro scouts are reporting. And for the most part, minus maybe a bye week extra couple of days, that pro department, the schedule is going to be Monday to Friday, Sunday to Saturday, the same from preseason when players report to the last week of the year. Really no break. You're hitting it Monday through Saturday. You're doing advances, you're writing reports, you're doing workouts. It is a high stress. And then you add to the fact that you are also in the building every day. For some teams, it's a great building, great atmosphere. You're winning. Things are looking good. You're staying healthy. For some teams, man, a few of them out there. I can't imagine being in the Jets building this year, the Titans building. You're going through GM changes. You're going through structure changes. You're losing every week. You're losing players to injury. It becomes a long, high stress, really tough environment where, hey, the right building, you have the energy, you have the motivation, the right things are in place. For bad buildings, for buildings where there likely needs to be a change or just was a change, a new culture is being established, it can become a long, arduous process to get through the season when things are not going well, knowing that, hey, we've got to knock this stuff out. We have to turn over our roster. We've got to get free agency. We've got to get the draft right. We have to do a bunch of things to make sure we're not in this spot again at the same time next year. Carolina, Dan Morgan, Coach Canales, great credit to what they did, going from what had really been a bad, yet ownership induced, multiple bad things happening over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. All of a sudden, the Panthers on the cusp of winning that division, going to the playoffs. Huge credit to them. Same thing out in Denver, different process there. You've got, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, fantastic buildings to be a part of. Again, there are some buildings. Atlanta, it's got to be a tough one to be in right now. Can't imagine going in there every day. Well, I can't imagine being in there. I've been a part of that process. Not a fun place to go in. High energy guys like Brick, like Raheem are going to be a part of that, going to continue to push the culture. Culture does matter. Absolutely, during these tough times, the pro scouts are a part of that culture as well. Again, you're talking in Arizona, really tough spot. Again, Coach Gannon, again, Austin Ford, the GM. You've got to make sure your culture's right, the building's right, to make sure everybody has the motivation, the right mindset to get reports done, do everything you need to. So for pro scouts, you are getting your work done. For the teams that are going to the playoffs, you're hitting on those advances. You're thinking about all these different scenarios to make sure your team keeps winning. If you make the playoffs, you're in the dance, you got a chance. That's what every one of these teams that is going to the playoffs is looking at. Really, two playoff races. We got Pittsburgh, we got Baltimore coming out. It's going to be an exciting one. Carolina, Tampa Bay. Again, is it going to be Tampa Bay's division again, or is Carolina going to surprise everybody, make that last push this weekend to get there? I think they're the Saturday game, so we're going to see an early preview of that one. But again, for all these pro departments, an unsung part of every NFL franchise. Pro scouts don't get credit that college scouts do, but a big part of it, they're doing good work, no matter if you're going to the playoffs or not. Keep doing the good work. Have questions on pro departments, how it works, what they're doing to operate, make sure you hit me up over at Right Step ADV. Pro scouting is awesome. I love pro scouting. I love thinking about that 53 plus your practice squad plus future teams. You're looking at 27, 28, 29. You're looking at all the pieces as you get your culture, your team, your 53, and ultimately your game day actives ready to go. Love the process. Hit me up on questions you have. Make sure you tune in the rest of this week. We are back Monday to Friday this week, bringing you all things college, all things pro, all things scouting, because here on Scouting the League, you know we're going to keep scouting.